Good morning, class. Are you having a good day? Well, to lighten your mood, I wanted to let you know there are approximately 12,400 nuclear warheads in the world. Any second, we could hear the sirens of death, and only have minutes to say goodbye to your loved ones and friends. Maybe even seconds before you're vaporized by thermal radiation. And if somehow you survive that, then you have to deal with something even worse. Men. Oh, well, that sounds like the bell. Alright, well, have a good one, class, and remember, wear a smile on your face. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and everyone watching. Today we'll be looking at more scary short PSAs. This is the second video I made about the short PSAs. The other one should be up here right now. But I swear to the Pillsbury Doughboy, if you leave this video, I'm gonna have my boy come get ya. Eat me! Before we fully jump into these PSAs, if you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, it's good to see you again. I'm wearing this the day before the Super Bowl. Hopefully we win. If we don't, I'm gonna light some shit on fire.
Do I always lose at?
You don't ever lose.
That's all I need to hear.
Jean is not a safety. He's just a corner who'll lock down your number one.
I also want to throw in, there's a difference between PSAs and commercials. PSAs are public service announcements, usually aimed towards educating the public, hence the public in PSA. Meanwhile, commercials are more there to try to sell you something. So knowing those differences, PSAs can be pretty brutal. And during the transitions in each video, I'm going to put a warning about what material is going to be in the next topic. So feel free to skip around, plus there's going to be timestamps below. Alright, with all that yapping, let's get into it. Family Man, 2006. This workplace PSA starts off with us watching a man doing construction, talking about his family. He's talking about how he's working overtime to make that shmoney. Money! You know, to buy an RV, get some beakers, and recruit an old high school friend. AKA, he's just trying to go on a vacation, so he needs to make money. Because everything runs on money. Money, money, money. Well, as the title suggests, there are no happy endings in this video. And speaking of happy endings, you guys ever watch Final Destination?
I'm working overtime because I want to take my family on a nice vacation. Soon they get a call telling them I was killed in an accident. But hey, I'm wearing a busted harness here. And the company should have checked those tanks to the...
Holy shit! It's been an accident! Obviously, death is no laughing matter, so I shouldn't be laughing. But the absurdity of him calling out the gas tanks and then them just exploding as he's calling them out, I feel like the director, Peter Miller, knew that was going to be somewhat funny. And then the ragdoll of the body all the way to the ground and then just a giant... I don't know, I feel like there's a comedic beat in there. No? Thinking this is funny, a cause of concern? Family Man is one of many of PSAs under the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board campaign called Prevented. It's a whole campaign talking about how workplace accidents can be avoided or prevented. I'm almost certain most of you guys who have worked have gone through some sort of training where they'll be like, hey, don't do this or you'll end up like Ted, and then they'll show some sort of image of Ted and he just looks like a funnel cake. Usually it's videos saying like, hey, don't do this and make sure your safety hat's on and do all this so we don't get sued, and so you don't die. That's the important thing. But also, we don't want to get sued. Also, if they tell you, hey, don't do all of these things, and then you do it, then you injure yourself, you can't sue them. And then you'll get injured too, so don't do that, obviously. And letting people know, like, hey, you need to follow procedures, which is the harness, which homeboy didn't check. But also, there's a message saying, hey, if you see something that's not right, you need to let someone know. So, like, if you see gas tanks that are old and expired, maybe snitch. And who would you snitch to? Our good old friends OSHA. Because your company definitely won't do anything like retaliate after you do so and fire you, because that's illegal. I think Family Man does a good job at not only the shocking material, which is the ragdoll and the death, but also within 30 seconds, the guy lets us know that, hey, he has an outside life that matters more to him, but he's at work. And while he's not being fully responsible, neither is his work, which all culminates into his death. Couple of messages. Not only is your job worth dying over, which almost no job is. I almost said no job is, but there's some professional Beyblade players out there, like myself, and that shit gets lethal. But yeah, no job is worth dying over. Especially if it's just over something stupid like, oh, this wasn't up to code, or hey, those look like expired gas tanks. Another PSA within the same campaign is called Top Chef. Top Chef has pretty much the same message as Family Man.
Head chef by next year. I've got this amazing fiance who I won't be marrying this weekend because I'm about to be in a terrible accident. But really, I should have cleaned up the grease over there, and they should never put the deep fryer so close.
were each released in Canada and aired on TV. And not just on TV, but during commercial breaks for kids shows. Like they targeted children saying, hey, your dad could die at work, or your mom can get severe burns on her face and she'll never look the same. I know those aren't the messages, but like, what is a kid gonna think? If any of you guys saw these PSAs on TV, let me know. And let me know how that affected your day. Because I'm not expecting to watch someone die on a commercial break.
And the company should have checked those tanks to...
Stop. 1997. Stop is a road safety awareness PSA. And it shows actors, and I say actors because that's important for the next PSA after this. It shows actors getting into a car crash, which is usually typical for these type of PSAs that are saying, be careful on the road. However, most PSAs won't show the end result of what happens after a car crash, which is usually death. Instead, they'll have like a narration saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. And this New Zealand PSA certainly does that.
The last thing Sally will ever hear wouldn't be the sound of her own neck breaking.
Which that's horrifying in itself. The neck snapping description's pretty grotesque. Like, I crack my neck all the time, and I can just imagine what that sounds like. But with this description of what's going to happen to the people inside the car, they also show what's going to happen.
If the driver of this car had kept his speed to 100k, here's where he would have stopped. If he'd stopped here, his wife wouldn't take the full impact of the crash and die instantly. If he'd stopped here, the last thing Sally will ever hear wouldn't be the sound of her own neck breaking. And Nikki wouldn't break several ribs and her collarbone. As for Jim, well, Jim could have avoided broken bones and a broken heart. But anyway, it's too late for all that now, because this isn't where it stops. It's where it all begins.
The calm and happy before the inevitable crash highlights how quickly things can change. And most good PSAs do something like that, where it's all sunshine and rainbows and then all of a sudden your head gets chopped off. And then the final scene of the corpse of the mother, granted I used a 4K upscale of this PSA, it's still pretty graphic. And then the haunting audio of the child in the background calling out for her dead mother, yeesh. This 1977 anti-speeding PSA aired on televisions in New Zealand, and from what I can tell doing research, they aired into the late 2000s, attempting to warn drivers what would happen if you drive like an ass. Granted, this guy was only doing a couple miles over. That's still a couple miles over, which led to his family's death. Remember kids, getting to where you want to be late is better than just dying. Did you have the fortune to see this PSA air on TV? The Heroes a Zero. 2000. This PSA is actually morbidly horrifying. However, I think it's one of the best PSAs I've ever seen when it comes to car crashes and just driving responsibly. And that's just showing an actual fatal accident happen. Now, I am aware that most of you guys who come to this channel and just come onto YouTube aren't looking for people dying. That's more Twitter, Instagram Reels, and Reddit thing. And I want you to know that the clip doesn't show any gore or anything like that. But if you are sensitive to someone's last moments, I'd highly advise just skipping this part. Because I am going to show it because I think it is important to show the whole thing, especially because of what the parents of the victims said afterwards. The parents said that they didn't want their son's death to be meaningless, which is why they authorized this clip to be shown for the PSA. The Heroes a Zero, or A Hero to Zero for Americans. It is a 2000 Canadian PSA that brings awareness to speeding and reckless driving. It's about Mathieu Perron, born in 1981, and on April 14th, 2000, he gathered some friends to spectate him attempting a jump in his Acura. And with one friend recording, this is where the PSA comes into play. Mateo would hit the jump at approximately 200 kilometers, or 125 miles per hour, which is when he lost control. Mateo's parents authorized this clip to be used by the SAAQ, which is Quebec's auto insurance company. I think. I don't understand French, I use translations here, so I'm sorry if I got that wrong. This PSA aired on TV roughly 8 times a day, which I feel like is a bit insane, but as mentioned earlier, I agree with this type of PSA. I don't know if little kids who can't even drive need to see a PSA about someone dying in a car crash, but I do think it's great for young teenagers or young adult drivers in general. Did you ever catch this PSA on TV? Which reminds me of me when I started driving. I got my license really young. Like, I think I got the learner's permit at 15 or 16 whenever we were allowed to get it in my state. And getting it so young required me to take a class. You could get one without taking a class, you just had to wait a couple more years, but I wanted to make money. But in that driving class, which was like a week, there's like one portion of it where we just looked at dead people and car crashes and things like that. Now, I'm not talking about accidents where it's like, oh, that person's in there is not looking okay. I'm talking more like you're looking at a photo and you're wondering how that used to be a person. I still remember we got shown photos of a girl who was driving in a Porsche going way too fast. And the photos just showed, like, pieces. Not of the car, of her. I think that worked pretty well on me. Maybe too well, because for like the first year of driving, I avoided the highway because, yeah, I knew that if you go a certain speed, your body is not going to accept that. That tangent was to say that we need to show kids real life death. Not to the degree that I was shown, because they still need to get on the highways, but we shouldn't tiptoe around the fact that you can die in a car, especially if you are driving reckless and speeding. Did any of you guys take a driver's class where you saw things like that? Where they just showed you pictures of graphic crashes to be like, hey, drive smart. Monsters, 2012. Now for a PSA that's filmed like an actual horror movie. And I'm aware that most PSAs have elements of horror in them. I'm talking about sound designs, camera work. And finally, antagonists in this PSA look like horror movie monsters. I mean, it's in the title, monsters. Here, I'll shut up, just watch this. This alcoholism awareness PSA capitalizes on the imaginations of kids, perfectly showing horrifying monsters that are actually humans, what we can figure is the parents of these kids, who abuse alcohol. I personally would not want to be near the bunny fella. The PSA comes from Finland's own non-profit organization, Fragile Childhood. That's the American name for it, at least. Their goal is to help those who have suffered from childhood parental alcohol misuse, and to help those find support and information about said problem, as well as just spreading information about the problem and how apparent it is, especially in Finland. I couldn't find anything if this PSA aired on TV. I don't think it did. However, on YouTube, it became a viral success with over 1 million views. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this in the intro, everything is linked below. So if you want to go watch the PSAs by themselves without this ugly ass face talking, go for it. Screw you, by the way. Eye Candy, 2001. Alright, letting you know right now, this isn't scary, I just think it's cool. Unless, well, children dying is scary, right? Right? Good. Candy. We all love it. This is a 5-pound bag of Mike and Ike's sours I got for Christmas. We all love candy, unless you're Willy Wonka's dad.
Caramels.
Hard ass. But you know how commercials for food usually don't even use the food that they sell to the customers? Like they'll use cardboard or your grandma's foot to make a burger look good. And then when you go to Burger King, they forget your nuggets, even though like you asked for nuggets, and then you went back around and then you like, hey, I ordered like a 6-piece nuggets, and then they gave you 4-piece nuggets. Fuck you, Burger. It's my fault for going to Burger King. The PSA eye candy plays on that notion of fake food, but in a way that could kill your kids. And think about the children. Let me reiterate, this is not scary, nor do I find it scary, because I'm a tough cookie. However, I think it's a cool and simple way for the PSA to pretty much tell parents, hey yo, parent your fucking kid! And speaking of, when I was like a little wee lad, I had to get my stomach pumped because I went to my mom's medication and I found pills and I was like, ooh, candy, and I ate it up like I was starving. Before you get mad at my parents, I was a batshit crazy kid. So that was on me. Like, even now, I'm talking to a camera, alone, in my room, all by myself. I am insane. Sorry about that. That's all to say, hey parents, if you have things that are poisonous, get them out of range for your kids. Even if you think your kids won't eat it, they will. They're weird. They're gross. They eat their own hands. So you gotta be extremely diligent over things you didn't even think you would have to think about. And a little lesson from my experience. Don't eat pills like they're candy. Just get some candy. Oh, that's a good route. Hey kids, if you want your parents to give you candy, just threaten them by saying, hey, if you don't give me candy, I'm gonna go eat all the ibuprofen right now. And when they hit you, it's not my fault. And if they don't hit you, good for you for having loving parents, asshole. You know, it's probably not the best joke to make in a PSA video, but I'm not known for making good choices either. Broken glass, 1973. Have you ever seen a video of someone getting hit or injured and you cringe yourself? Fellas, I know if we see a video of another dude getting hit in the doinky doink, we automatically reach down here and it hurts us just a little because we're all connected in our dumb men brain. Or ladies, if you don't understand what I just said. Imagine if I had my hand out like this and I put a piece of paper right into here and I just went like that. I bet that probably made some of you wince, and I'm not actually going to even get close to doing that because I don't... Ew. You get my point. Watching something happen to other people sometimes can make you die on the inside. Just a little. Sometimes we feel phantom pain from the media we consume, like a good little consumer.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
Well, Broken Glass, released in 1973 in the UK, plays on that notion perfectly. It's to raise awareness about littering, more specifically glass bottles on the beach.
The last place in the world to leave a bottle is a beach.
A pretty simple PSA, but I wanted to include it because thankfully it cuts out right before the kid steps on the glass. But still, he's running full pace, and I still winced. And if you didn't wince, then like, okay, Captain Big Balls. This PSA was in the boom of PSAs for the UK. However, they weren't called PSAs over there. They were called PIFs. Which is public information film, because everyone has to be so different. This boom of PSAs started after World War II. And I'm not saying PSAs weren't a thing before that, they were. But after World War II, the government really pushed for informing the public of social problems. Social or world problems, usually social problems, which is why most PSAs are about one specific topic. The big boom was the government being like, we have a lot of dumb people out here doing a lot of dumb things. We need to let them know, hey, stop doing dumb things. It wasn't that simple, but it was definitely a part of it. Like, don't throw broken glass out on the beach, on a public beach where kids are running without shoes. Humans suck, dude. I think that's a positive place to end this. So that's where we're going to wrap it up today. If at any point you enjoyed this video, a like really helps out. And if you think this face and the words that come out of it and the topics that we talk about is worth watching for another week, or maybe 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, then hit that subscribe button. I post videos every week, usually in the horror realm, whether it's PSAs or actual horror genre stuff. Something spooky we can all talk about and watch together. Like mentioned before, I have a video of shorter PSAs, but I also have a video covering the long-form public service announcements. Some of them get hit with like copyright problems, because I don't think YouTube is too happy showing kids getting ran over by tractors and stuff. But I think they're all interesting and horrifying in a weird way. And if you do too, then the playlist should be linked at the end here. And with that, I want to let you know that if you have any PSAs that you find terrifying that I didn't mention, please let me know. I love the older PSAs that are pretty creepy, but they're somewhat harder to find because some of the websites are like archived and just gone. But whenever I find a new PSA that's truly horrifying, I light up like a Christmas tree. Well, that's where we're going to end the video. Hopefully the Eagles won. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.
This is crack.